When I hear someone like Yunchan, I start to believe in reincarnation, that sense that someone's an old soul. I'm sure that Yunchan, when he was 10 years old, I'm sure people had the same feeling that he transcends age, because there's that poet in him that just is timeless.
The Cliburn is in full swing, and while all eyes are on this year's competition, it's the perfect time to look back, because the real story of a great young artist doesn't end with a gold medal. It starts there. In the summer of 2023, Yunchan Lim reunited with Marin Alsop to perform the Rachmaninoff Third Piano Concerto again at the Vail Festival, about a year after Lim's unforgettable Cliburn performance. Alsop sat down with my good friend, the wonderful Ben Laude, to reflect on what she saw in his development from her perspective as a conductor who's worked with more than a few excellent musicians. This interview comes just in time for the release of Lim and Alsop's Cliburn performance with the Fort Worth Symphony on a new record, and gives us a chance to think about how Yunchan's artistry is continuing to evolve. So before this year's Cliburn winner is crowned, let's revisit the one who changed the game. Here's Marin Alsop on Yunchan Lim.
What was your first impression when you met Yunchan?
First impressions can be so misleading, because Yunchan is extremely shy and very humble, very modest. And then as he plays, he's totally confident. And he knows what he wants to say. He's a poet, at his soul. And technically, it's quite flawless. So, you meet this very quiet, very respectful young man. And then he sits down at the piano and he becomes a lion.
He works really hard. I wonder if he's doing something different when he practices. Do you get a sense of that?
I think that Yunchan loves practicing. I think if he could have a choice in life, he would just be alone on a mountaintop with his piano and just practice eight hours. And so he brings a special commitment and enjoyment of that process that I think for a lot of people, for a lot of us, it's hard work practicing. For Yunchan, it's joy to practice. I asked him if he'd had a vacation. He said, I want to practice. So, but again, I think playing and practicing especially, that's the outlet for him. That's his creative outlet. That's where he gets recharged. I wonder whether he's just waiting for everybody to leave him alone so he can practice again. But I think he loves performing. I think he loves sharing the profound beauty of music with people. I think this year has probably been a wild one for him, because he went from being pretty anonymous to being hugely in demand. And that's a very steep trajectory. I'm happy to see him, because I feel a little bit like his second mom in a way, because, I looked after him at the competition, musically looked after him, and I wanted to check in and make sure he's okay still, because this life can be very, very grueling. And I especially worried about him and all the travel. He's still so young. And so I tried to give him a little bit of motherly advice.
Just in general, you seemed so comfortable, at ease. It just seemed like an emotional, deeply artistic and human moment, and not a competition moment. How did you feel emotionally during that whole event?
I didn't really track the competition aspect. I really try to make it a concert and about the music and about the artist that's performing. So I think by then, I was so clearly taken with Yunchan from his Beethoven concerto performance. I mean, that was really poetic. I was so happy for him that he seemed to be, on a roll also. So I think it's a combination of just appreciating the moment and being happy for him.
Conducting it with Yunchan in particular, did you feel like was it 50-50? Give and take? Did you feel like you were guiding it? Do you feel like he was taking command?
It's hard to know exactly what the ratio is. Sure. How does it work? I don't think it's 50-50 though. I think it's weighted more toward the soloist. That I think my job is to make the soloist and the soloist interpretation work, not impose my view of the piece. I think where there are moments that I could step up and try to match their virtuosity, I do. But I would say that, my approach to accompanying is really more supportive than being the lead. He has an incredible sense of pacing, particularly in this Rachmaninoff concerto. It starts out very, very like his personality, very modestly. And you think, oh, okay, that's pleasant. That's nice. And really, he knows how to get the fire stoked and get it going. And he's not afraid to really go for it. I mean, some of the tempi in the last movement are just, they're mind-blowing that he can put all those notes in. It's insane. And, with the woodwinds on those little da-da-da-da-da, I mean, they look like, they're falling out of a plane. Sometimes the look on their face is like, oh, this is crazy. But, it works because it's cohesive and it's part of a whole organic interpretation. It's not contrived at all. When I hear someone like Yunchan, I start to believe in reincarnation, that sense that someone's an old soul. I'm sure that Yunchan, when he was 10 years old, I'm sure people had the same feeling that he transcends age, because there's that poet in him that just is timeless.
Do you feel like he creates a chemistry on stage with the orchestra themselves? Does he inspire them to play better or to be even more involved?
I think all great soloists inspire the orchestra to be the best they can be. And I think what you see from the orchestra is not just engagement, but real admiration. And I think because Yunchan is so genuine and authentic and really untouched, at least so far, by his fame, that really appeals to musicians, especially the members of the orchestra, because they come into contact with so many different kinds of soloists, and this is what they really are looking for.
Do you have any favorite moments in the piece? And did you have any particular moments that you remember, it's okay if you don't, that Yunchan did something really special, or anything from last year was like, okay, wow, that?
Well, I think for me, I love the opening of the piece because it's almost as though you just open the door to someone's living room and there's been music going on and you sort of, it's not this bombastic start. I love that. And how Rachmaninoff brings that back several times in the first movement is quite beautiful. I think for me, the most moving moments really are in the slow movement, where Yunchan's sense of rubato is both organic and yet surprising. That's something that you can't teach people. You can teach them, okay, let's do this mathematically, slow down and speed up. You can sort of make people understand that. But having that instinct of how to create a phrase that feels exactly correct, but surprising, I think that to me is his gift.